The symbolism is not lost on me of the fact that the center officially opens on Juneteenth, that this year the Obama Presidential Center opens on the 250th anniversary of our country, the semi-quincentennial, as the folks that watch this show know I like to say. President Obama spoke about 1776 today, not as perfection, but as the beginning. And as we barrel towards July 4th, as we go into Juneteenth tomorrow, it strikes me that July 4th, the founding of our country, celebrates the promise of freedom. But it is Juneteenth that celebrates the expansion of freedom, the fight, the continued fight for freedom. And so, Reverend Sharpton, I think today was a very good kickoff for that, and also a very good reminder that this isn't just about the past, that there's a lot of future for us to get to.
No, there's no question about it. And I think that we must remember that when former President now Obama was speaking about it was a beginning 250 years ago, you have to remember 250 years ago, we were enslaved.
Come on.
Women couldn't vote or own property. So it's been a process. And for them on this day, the day before Juneteenth is officially opening this center and celebrated, it says we have work to do. The generations ahead of us brought America this far. We cannot let that go backwards now. And it's providential to me that on this day is also the day that the Iran deal exploded in Barack Obama's successor's face.
Right.
You have President Trump, who had denounced what Obama did, who's done something that even Republicans are saying is much more of a giveaway than he accused Obama. So it was God not only moving the clouds so we didn't have rain today, but showing the contrast between where we were and where we are now in terms of two presidents. And that they did it on the South Side, where the community they came out of, they brought it home. They could have done this anywhere. They didn't do it as a memorial. They did it as a center of service right here in the community that Michelle and Barack Obama Michelle grew up in, and Obama landed here. He said he got off his car. He pulled up when he moved to Chicago right on this corner.
In 1985.
It's, for me, a moment like this really speaks to two things at once. It speaks to the man, or maybe in the future, hopefully, a woman who held the job, who did the work, was in the office, and how the country has changed since their time and how it has moved. We saw that. We've seen it from Reagan. We've seen it going back to Roosevelt. We've seen it certainly with Bush after 9/11. The country has its own rhythm to it as well, Reverend. You've had your fingers a lot on that pulse. You've been involved in a lot of big moments. But it's the human aspect of the moment that I find the most interesting. And it probably is my seminary training and all of that Augustinian tradition coming back.
Steel.
But I want to play for you this moment, which for me was probably one of the most profound, because it was probably one of the hardest thing for any human to do. Let's listen to Barack Obama talk a little bit about shortcomings.
When you visit this center today or in days to come, I hope you see yourselves and your hard work reflected in every exhibit. And I hope you take pride in what we accomplished together. Of course, we did not accomplish everything we set out to do. No administration does. Some of the exhibits reflect unfinished business. In some cases, my own shortcomings and mistakes. In some cases, because, as a sign I kept on the Resolute desk read, hard things are hard.
That, in a moment like this, most politicians, most presidents, former presidents, would go out and beat their breasts, look at what we did and lay out the list of accomplishments. But in that moment, to first be humble and acknowledge the work that we did together, and then to speak to that that sort of self-reflective moment of, yeah, and I didn't get it all right all the time. What did you make? I was a reverend. What did you make of that? But certainly someone who's been in rooms with politicians like that. What does it say to you?
No, it stood out to me because it emphasized that he is not building this center to glorify himself. He's saying to generations that are younger than him or me or you that we don't let your mistakes define you. Be defined by how you keep reaching and keep growing. And now at a place where he was a nobody, he can build a center to say to people, you can do this too. And if it had been built in a different kind of neighborhood, they may not have needed that.
Right.
But if you can look at this tower and look at this center, and you're a kid from a broken home or on welfare or whatever, like I grew up, you can have hope because it's somebody telling you you can do it because I did it. And you may make mistakes. When you're climbing mountains, sometimes you skin your knees, but just keep on walking.
Right.
There were so many wonderful speeches today, and I hate to rank them, but I think Michelle Obama's was absolutely tremendous.
Yes.
The way she spoke about her husband was pure love. It was a pure devotional from a dedicated spouse that had me very emotional. And she listed off his accomplishments, and I want to play this clip a little bit about what her husband did and just how extraordinary it is. Can we play it, please?
You were doing the people's work, rescuing our economy, expanding health care, ending a war, ordering the bin Laden raid, saving an auto industry, winning a peace prize. Keeping us safe from Ebola, regulating the banks, standing up for marriage equality, listening to science, and comforting an entire nation in the face of unspeakable tragedies.
And of course, their Reverend winning a peace prize is a, shall we say, shade to a certain
Just a
somebody
little
who
shade.
very much like that.
Appreciated that.
Just
Most.
a little shade.
I found myself, when Mrs. Obama was laying out all those accomplishments, it spoke to the true arc of President Obama's presidency and how much that he had to deal with. You got to know him early on in 2007 when there was still a lot of skepticism about whether Senator Obama could be a good president. What did you see in him then that then I think allowed him to be the president that could solve all those issues that his wife spoke about so poignantly?
When I met him in 2007.
At Sylvia's. You had him in the restaurant.
And I had him at Sylvia's soul food restaurant in Harlem. And I met a man there that seemed balanced. He was ambitious, but he was not out of character in terms of his own gravity. And I saw that man through many crises, and I worked closely with him as head of National Action Network on many cases that came up during his presidency. Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, all happened while he was president. He kept that balance. And when he quoted that about hard things are hard, he went through some hard things, but he was so resolute in his own conviction of why he was there. He did not let the country down. And I think that's the kind of character we need in the White House, that is not about them. They're there to do the hard things for all of us.
And just to let you know, when I was RNC chairman, the good Reverend took me to Sylvia's, too. So I remember, I don't know if you remember that, but we had a good time that day.
We had a good time. And I can say that I watched Simone grow up. I've sparred with you, and I'm on my second russet. I used to go and meet the press with his daddy.
History is unbroken continuity.
That's right.
You know, I just want to put this on the table in the time we have left because we've all alluded to it. But I mean, the split screen today that was on display between President Obama and President Trump. And obviously, you know, this presidential center is not about anybody. You know, President Obama saying it's not even about him. It's about the people. It's about the future. But I just can't help but think with the news coming out about the Iran deal, and I would, if I had hands free, I would use air quotes for the folks listening because it's an agreement to say we're going to keep talking, which I don't know what that's about. But I mean, truly, a vision for a country where it is central to one man is Donald Trump's vision. It is very much so built around himself, whereas President Obama today talked about, and Mrs. Obama as well, talked about a vision for this future in a country where the people are at the center of a democracy and where the people are making it work.
I think you made a critical, you use a critical word, vision, because we've been dealing with a presidency that's built on vengeance rather than vision. And now we see what a president should give us, a vision of where we could be, who we could be, and which is why Juneteenth tomorrow is a day that says, even though they got the message late, they were free, and they walked in that freedom, and that's what we need to do today. Even with all of the redistricting, with all of what we're seeing, we cannot give up. We have to keep going. Even though they don't tell us we're free, and we need to operate in that freedom.